Hello and welcome back. I'm Paul with Infinity Overland, and today's adventure is going to be about the Crossmember for the Gen 1 Ford Raptor. Let's get into it. All right, here it is. This is the Crossmember that I got for the truck to replace the one that's all beat up and bent that's currently in the truck. Notice this thing is not brand new. It is used. It is an eBay purchase because Ford no longer makes these. You can't get them anymore. So my only choice was to get a used one, and from the pictures, this one was in pretty good shape. And overall, it is in pretty good shape. Although, it's fairly rusty. Some rust under where the transmission mount actually goes. It's kind of crushed over here in this corner. It was obviously hit something. Not a rock, but something hard. Overall, looking through this thing, I don't think it's that well built. And I don't think it's going to survive any better than the one that's currently on there. And being that it is exactly the same as the one that's currently on there, and it has been beat, I think we can do better. So you might notice on here some markings. I've been marking this thing up and putting it into CAD. I'll show you that here shortly, but I went through and did a full CAD workup on the parts that we need. Not the parts that we don't, but the parts that we need. And I think we're going to make a fully boxed version of this that's going to be much, much stronger. So if that's something that you want to see, a much better version of this, then you're the right spot. Here we are. I am in my kitchen / office, and here's the CAD drawing for the Crossmember. As you can see, it's got all the features necessary. Everything's in the right spot. And it is ready to go. Let me go into this a little bit more. It's a little easier to see this way, so I'm going to turn these off. There we go. Okay, so this is the main part of the steel. You can see here that we'll get down and show you the Crossmember. There's the cross section of the 2x4 tube. You can also see the DOM that we put through there. That's your anti-crush sleeve, so you can put a bolt through there and tighten it down as much as you want. You ain't gonna crush that DOM. And here's a couple of holes that'll be tapped. And then we also modeled up the 4x3 going to act as our riser, so we get to keep the transmission at the same height, and also will give us access to put the mounting nuts back onto the studs that come from the transmission mount itself. And the top plate here, that's just a piece of 3/16 with some slots cut in it, little adjustability for your transmission. Not all of them sit in the same place. Not all the cross members were welded into the same place, or at least the mounts. So this gives you a little bit of OEM adjustability. The other part about this is that we are going to 100% box in this 2x4. So we're going to cut a couple of 10 gauge plates, one to put at each end, weld those into place as well. And that is just going to make this thing very, very strong. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you here is the bottom. See these squares with circles? Those are actually for U-nuts, and these are at exactly the same spot as the factory holes, so that if you've got a skid plate already underneath your transmission, a couple of U-nuts, which we'll include, will go and bolt that directly up with the bolts you already have. So that should make that just a single piece. Now, the flat plates, they're easy enough to cut. This 4x3, we're just going to cut it to length in the bandsaw. So now what we need to do is we need to cut all these holes in there with the laser. Hopefully, once I get the new jigs made, which I still have to CAD those up and make them, it'll cut this hole, and this hole, and then we will flip it around to the bottom, and we'll have it cut bottom hole and these holes, and that should do it. Now, for the bolts and the sleeves, we're actually just going to use an annular cutter on the manual mill and cut those in, because those will be easy enough. This one sits exactly the same distance from the end as this one over here. This one over here sits the same distance from the end over there. And so there's 2 holes on this side, 2 holes on this side, 2 holes on this side, 2 holes on that side. Easy enough to drill them out with the annular cutter, keep it extremely precise, and do it fairly quickly. That way, that eliminates 2, or at least that eliminates making a whole nother jig for the laser to cut those holes, because I don't think there's any advantage of the laser cutting those holes. So we're going to do it with an annular cutter. With that, we are going to go back out to the shop. All right, we're back out in the shop. You just saw the CAD drawings that I did, and no, I didn't go through all how I did it, because it takes me forever to do CAD. So I wanted to spare you that. I just showed you the results. But out with the old and in with the new. This is a piece of 2x4 box I've had laying around for a while, and it just happens to be almost exactly the right size. How lucky is that? So, I don't know if you know anything about structural steel, but 2x4 box is incredibly strong. And it's not very heavy for what it is. Actually, it weighs less than the stock Crossmember at this point, but we're not done with it. So now what I got to decide is I have the CAD and I have the cut files as to what I want to cut. Now I just got to decide on how we want to cut it. Now here's the problem, is that my first thought was I'm going to cut it with the laser. I have the laser, and it would be the easiest way to cut this. Just throw it in the laser, cut the things that need to be cut, and then move on. Problem is that my laser is a 2 foot by 2 foot laser. This is just a little shorter than 3 foot. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take my brand new laser and modify it to take a 3 foot piece. Yeah, that's not really going to actually happen. So, next thing I started looking at was, okay, I have a CNC mill. Let's put it on the mill, and we'll just cut everything we need on the mill. And that would work, but Since my mill is small, it only has about a 10-inch X on it. So it can only go 10 inches at a time. So that means that we're gonna have to make jig that this can sit into to cut all of the things that we need to cut. And then we're gonna have to reset it up in the mill probably 6 or 8 times. Probably not gonna be one jig, probably gonna be 2 or 3 jigs. And it is going to take a really long time to make it that way. So, I have to give this some thought.